What is up, everybody? We're on day 157 of our Bible in a Year series. We are continuing on, readjust my mic, in Job today. We're actually finishing up Job today. So we saw yesterday the beginning of, of the Lord responding to Job. So today we will continue in that, and then we will finish up with seeing Job's final response to God on the situation. So, pull it up on screen, and we will jump right in. Job chapter 40. The Lord answered Job, "Will the one who contends with the Almighty correct him? Let him who argues with God give an answer." Then Job answered the Lord, "I am so insignificant. How can I answer you? I place my hand over my mouth. I have spoken once, and I will not reply twice. But now I can add nothing." Then the Lord answered Job from the whirlwind, God, or "Get ready to answer me like a man. When I question you, you will inform me. Would you really challenge my justice? Would you declare me guilty to justify yourself? Do you have an arm like God's? Can you thunder with a voice like his? Adorn yourself with majesty and splendor, and clothe yourself with honor and glory. Pour out your raging anger. Look on every proud person and humiliate him. Look on every proud person and humble him. Trample the wicked where they stand. Hide them together in the dust. Imprison them in a grave. Then I will confess to you that your own right hand can deliver you. Look at Behemoth, which I made along with you. He eats grass like cattle. Look at the strength of his back and the power in the muscles of his belly. He stiffens his tail like a cedar tree. The tendons of his thighs are woven firmly together. His bones are bronze tubes. His limbs are like iron rods. So this is where, first of all, I've heard some people say that he's actually describing like a dinosaur here, like brontosaurs or something like that. Um, I don't know for sure what it is. I don't know if there is any definitive answer to what this is. But this kind of, I said at the beginning with how it was written that, you know, God and Satan were like having this chat, and that's the sort of this whole thing. This kind of makes me, this is one piece that makes me think that's maybe not a literal description of what happened. I think it's I think it's more poetic in some senses, if you will. And this is, similarly, like verse 18 here, his bones are bronze tubes, his limbs are like iron rods. This is similar to kind of what we will see when we start tomorrow. We'll see in Psalms and maybe some of the Song of Solomon as well. There's language used intentionally to get a point across. So, like with this, saying that his bones are very strong, bronze tubes. Limbs are like iron rods. They're very strong. They're sturdy. They're not going to break easily. They're going to be able to do a lot of damage and hurt a lot of things if they get in their way. So, it's kind of some flowery language, if you will, to get a point across. It's poetic. It doesn't mean it's not accurate. It doesn't mean that you can not take it as seriously or not. It doesn't invalidate it at all. It's just it's just a type of writing. And excuse me, we in the West today have this idea that everything that is recorded has to be written 100% detail, 100% accurate. Cannot have any. It has to be exactly how it was done, and that's just not how they wrote things. For most of human history, there are different ways that they wrote stuff. Even biographies, a lot of times they wouldn't get everything. They want to make a point. We see in I forget one of the Gospels. I want to say it's Matthew. Yeah, I think it's Matthew because it's to the Jewish people. There's this idea of, I believe it's the number 12, and I'll have this when we actually get there, but 12 is like divine or somehow associated with what they would assume the Messiah would be. And so when they're giving the lineage of Jesus in Matthew, it leaves out people that we know are there because of the previous books that we have. Well, that's not inaccurate. What he's doing is he's giving like I think it's three sets of 12. And so it's showing like full completion and this link, like he's, by outlining it and putting the names in here that he did and skipping the ones that he did, he is making a point. This is God. Like, so, and it's been a while since I've heard that, so I will actually, by the time we get there, I'll have it pulled back up and be able to look through again. But the point is that this stuff is not always, not everything is meant to be read as woodenly literal. That's not the purpose of everything. So, yeah, let's get back into it. Verse 19, he is the foremost of God's works. Only his maker can draw the sword against him. The hills yield food for him, while all sorts of wild animals play there. He lies under the lotus plants, hiding in the protection of marshy reeds. Lotus plants cover him with their shade. The willows by the brook surround him. Though the river rages, Behemoth is unafraid. He remains confident, even if the Jordan surges up to his mouth. Can anyone capture him while he looks on, or pierce his nose with snares? Chapter 41. Can you pull in Leviathan with a hook, or tie his tongue with a rope? Again, Leviathan we saw mentioned previously, and I mentioned this before when we talked about this, but there are people that take stuff like this. Leviathan here is some type of animal or creature in the water. I've seen a lot of people in very very Pentecostal circles who make comments, say this is like a specific demonic spirit, and they'll take the connection here that we see in Job about excuse me, seemingly being something in water to excuse me, I've seen a lot of people in some very very Pentecostal circles take this, and they'll take the connection that seems to be here to water, and they'll say that this is a demonic spirit, and it is, for some reason, it terrorizes people that are close to bodies of water. It's just honestly ridiculous things like that. That's not a serious person. I it's not an exaggeration that I have people in my head I know have heard this and made these claims. I have actually, when my channel was first starting, I had interviewed people. I guess not first starting. I'd been going for a little bit. I did a series a little while back. It was the beginning of, I think it was the beginning of last year. And anyways, it was about like people giving their testimony. And there's one individual I brought on, and we were talking, and it got into a lot of this, and I ended up, like, I cut it short, didn't air it, but it was because this stuff, this is complete speculation. If you're building like theology off of this type of thing, that's problematic because it's not actually built on scripture. It's built on your thoughts. I'm not saying there's no demonic activity today. I think there is. I'm not saying there's not spiritual warfare today. 100% believe there is. I have seen people demon possessed. I have had interactions with people that are demon possessed. Like I've seen this stuff firsthand. But there's just a lot of extra stuff that's thrown on by a lot of the demon hunter crowd. So we'll continue. Um, I'll start with verse 1 again. Verse 1. Can you pull in Leviathan with a hook, or tie his tongue down with a rope? Can you put a cord through his nose, or pierce his jaw with a hook? Will he beg you for mercy, or speak softly to you? Will he make a covenant with you, so that you can take him as a slave forever? Can you play with him like a bird, or put him on a leash for your girls? Will traders bargain for him, or divide him among the merchants? Can you fill his hide with harpoons, or his head with fishing spears? Lay a hand on him, you will remember the battle and never repeat it. Any hope of capturing him proves false. Does a person not collapse at the very sight of him? No one is ferocious enough to rouse Leviathan. Who then can stand against me? Who confronted me, that I should repay him? Everything under heaven belongs to me. I cannot be silent about his limbs, his power, and his graceful proportions. Who can strip off his outer covering? Who can penetrate his double layer of armor? Who can open his jaws, surrounded by those terrifying teeth? His pride is in his rows of scales closely sealed together. One scale is so close to another that no air can pass between them. They are joined to one another, so closely connected they cannot be separated. His snorting flashes with light, while his eyes are like the rays of dawn. Flaming torches shoot from his mouth, fiery sparks fly out. Smoke billows from his nostrils as from a boiling pot or burning reeds. His breath sets coals ablaze, and flames pour out of his mouth. Strength resides in his neck, and dismay dances before him. The folds of his flesh are joined together, solid as metal and immovable. His heart is as hard as a rock, as hard as a lower millstone. When Leviathan rises, the mighty are terrified. They withdraw because of his thrashing. The sword that reaches him will have no effect, nor will a spear, dart, or arrow. He regards iron as straw, and bronze as rotten wood. No arrow can make him flee. Sling stones become like stubble to him. A club is regarded as stubble, and he laughs at the sound of a javelin. His undersides are jagged potsherds, spreading like the mud like a threshing sledge. He makes the depths seethe like a cauldron. He makes the sea like an ointment jar. He leaves the shining wake behind him. One would think the deep had gray hair. He has no equal on earth, a creature devoid of fear. He surveys everything that is haughty. He is king over all the proud beasts. Now, I think here too, kind of what we're seeing, God is, there's a lot of words going in to describe how great and powerful and awesome I think would be a correct, like not like in the colloquial sense like we use it, but like actually full of awe. He is, and the purpose is, I made him. How much greater do you think I am? Right? So yeah, verse 42. Then Job replied to the Lord, I know that you can do anything, and no plan of yours can be thwarted. You asked, who is this who conceals my counsel with ignorance? Surely I spoke about things that I did not understand, things too wondrous for me to know. You said, listen now, and I will speak. When I question you, you will inform me. I had heard reports about you, but now my eyes have seen you. Therefore, I reject my words and am sorry for them. I am dust and ashes. After the Lord had finished speaking to Job, he said to Eliphaz the Temanite, I am angry with you and your two friends, for you have not spoken the truth about me, as my servant Job has. Now take 7 bulls and 7 rams, go to my servant Job, and offer a burnt offering for yourselves. Then my servant Job will pray for you. I will surely accept his prayer and not deal with you as your folly deserves, for you have not spoken the truth about me, as my servant Job has. Then Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite went and did as the Lord had told them, and the Lord accepted Job's prayer. After Job had prayed for his friends, the Lord restored his fortunes and doubled his previous possessions. All his brothers, sisters, and former acquaintances came to him and dined with him in his house. They sympathized with him and comforted him concerning all the adversity the Lord had brought on him. Each one gave him a piece of silver and a gold earring. So the Lord blessed the last part of Job's life more than the first. He owned 14,000 sheep and 6 goats, 14,000 sheep and goats, 6,000 camels, 1,000 yoke of oxen, and 1,000 female donkeys. He also had 7 sons and 3 daughters. He named his first daughter my first thought was to say Jemima. I don't think that's it. Jemima. Yeah, I'll just go with Jemima. That's what we're gonna do. His second. Welcome to. I hope you guys enjoy this. His second, Keziah, and his third, Karan Hapuk. No women as beautiful as Job's daughters could be found in all the land, and their father granted them an inheritance with their brothers. Job lived 140 years after this and saw his children and their children to the 4th generation. Then Job died old and full of days. Again, the age here, 140 years old, I don't think that's probably literal. There is some, I think it's numerology going on there, kind of a showing a completion, a fullness that he lived in full years, and he ended his life at a good point and stuff like that. When we get back to, I don't know, some of this stuff is hard to like deep dive into when you're trying to go through, like we are, the whole Bible in a year. So I may try to do something showing some of the numerology in Genesis, which I think is also evidence that it's not to be read woodenly literal. But that's for another video, to make other people mad because I don't agree with them. But we do have some questions on this one, so let's get into those. Question 1. God's description of Behemoth and Leviathan in chapters 40 and 41 showcases his mastery over creation. How does this imagery challenge us to surrender our need for control and trust his authority in life's chaos? Yeah, so I didn't go fully to this point, but this is kind of what I was getting at. When I think God was saying, like when he was describing Leviathan and how just enormous and powerful and commanding and really unbeatable this creature is, God made that creature. So how much more of all those things must God be? As strong as this creature is, like, God could literally just, like, he could think it and it's gone. So if he has that kind of power, how much more does that apply to us in our life? So in our situations, in our difficulties, things like that, even when we don't see it, we know he is that powerful. We know he is good, like the ultimate source of good. There's nothing good except for him. So even when we see things that are quote unquote good, they pale in comparison. If we know both those things, we know that he cares for us, then we should be able to trust him, to be patient, to stay in the situation and know that he's going to do what's best for us. He's going to take care of the situation. It may not be something we're pulled out of. We may have to go through it. But we know that he's good. We know that he's there. Question 2. Job's repentance in chapter 42 shifts from demanding answers to awe. How might this transformation prompt us to reflect on the role of humility in encountering God's presence, even when suffering remains unexplained? Yeah. I mean, this is kind of the problem that I've brought up that we've had with Job this whole time is exactly that. He's focusing on trying to justify himself, wanting to present his case to God, wanting answers for why he's being treated this way or why this stuff is allowed to happen to him, when he is not really truly righteous. He is not truly just. That is not him. That's not because of anything that he has done. He can do nothing to get himself to that point. So, I think that shows that we should trust in God through this stuff. Even when it doesn't make sense, we should trust in God. Question 3. God's restoration of Job's life in chapter 42 follows his intercession for his friends. How does this ending invite us to wrestle with the connection between forgiveness, prayer, and God's redemptive work in our brokenness? So I think we were able to see Job was wrong, and Job's friends were also wrong. I think in most situations in our life, even if we are right on some things, which we talked about, there are some points that Job's friends made that were accurate points. But even if we are right on some things, that does not mean we are right on everything. I think in every situation there's probably there's probably at least a little bit of fault that can be placed on everybody. Understanding like we've talked about throughout this entire book, that no one is truly good except for God. I think we should be, in knowing that, and knowing that we have been forgiven, we should be that much quicker to forgive. Holding unforgiveness in your heart can cause a lot of issues for you. You're not hurting the other person by not forgiving them. You're hurting yourself. You're not letting things go. You're not able to move on. That's going to consume more of your time, more of your thoughts. That's going to affect how you go about as a Christian. I do think there's a connection between forgiving and seeing God do things in your life and through you. So that is something that everyone should do. We even see Paul talks about, if you go to, if you are going to, essentially for us, if you're going to the altar and you realize that somebody has something against you, that you need to go make that right and then come back. Like, this is an important thing, to not let there be grudges and things like that between people. Try to mend fences. Try to repair bridges. And this is not say to compromise on things, because there are times where you can. So if an example I use frequently, if there's someone, let's say I'm a senior pastor in a church, and there's someone who had offended against children previously. You probably know what I'm getting at. If they've offended against children previously, then they start coming to church, and they get saved, radically saved, radically changed. Like, you can see it. And they said that they feel called to work in children's ministry. No. The answer is no. God forgave them for what they did. We can forgive them for what they did. But that doesn't mean that you instantly, or not even instantly, that doesn't mean that you ever necessarily put them back in a position. There are things that you can do that will disqualify you from different positions of ministry. There are things you can do, and this isn't just me, this is outlined in Scripture. You can be disqualified from ministry, like senior ministry, from different positions in ministry. There are I won't get into that. There are pastors now that I think should not be pastors because they are disqualified because they cannot live a life above reproach. It is impossible because of things that they have done in the past. And I'll leave it at that. We'll wrap this one up. Appreciate everyone watching and listening. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I enjoy reading comments and interacting with people as much as I can in the comments. So drop a comment. Let me know what you think so far. Tomorrow we'll be getting into Psalms. So if this has been blessing you, share it with somebody else. Word of mouth's the best way that podcasts spread, and the good time to jump into this is the start of a new book. If you don't want to go back and start on day one and just work your way through, jump in when we're starting a new book, and um, we'll go there. So tomorrow we'll be starting on Psalms. Psalms is bigger, so we're going to be hitting. Um, the whole book is bigger. Many of the chapters are smaller, but we will be hitting multiple chapters in a day to work through that relatively quickly. It's a massive book, so chapter wise, anyways. Um, so we will be doing that starting tomorrow. So share it with other people. They can jump in. They can start with daily Bible reading as well. This will be a resource to maybe help them stick with a daily Bible reading plan. And if you do that, if you've not done that before, sticking with reading your Bible daily will change your life. Um, if you're reading it and you're actually trying to gain something from it, you're not just reading it just to like mark it off of a list. If you start that way, that's fine. But read it and try to have an open mind, an open heart, to let it change you. It will change your life. It will. But we're doing that. And yeah, Psalms tomorrow. Be good stuff. Appreciate everyone watching and listening up to this point. Thanks. God bless.